Day 31 of the 31 Days of Halloween. This was inspired by Carrie Gaskin. It's a puppet show card, and it's just delightful. And I will show you how to make this. Okay, to make this card, you just need a little bit of paper and the Spooky Bingo Bits stamp set. I'm sure there's other ways you could do this, but I used a lot from this, so I'm going to show you that. I used a brayer to do the background, and I have all this paper. The first thing you need is your base card. I did 5 by 5, so it's 10 inches by 5 of the Concord Crush, which is my favorite, deep purple for Halloween. And then this is the background. It's all brayered, so you can't tell that it was white. But this is 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. Then you need a piece of brown, the dark brown, to make the frame. And this is 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. And the frame is cut out a little bit larger than a 1/2 inch because you need to have foam tape to put it on. All right, the last thing is just some scratch paper to stamp out these, some scratch paper to make some of your hills and valleys. The scallop edge punch for the top of the curtain. And then to make the curtain, I'll show you how to do that with a piece of 1 1/2 inch by 8 1/2 inch, and you fold it in half. All right, let's get started. First, you need to choose 4 characters for your puppet show, stamp them, and adhere them into little sticks. These are actually smaller than popsicle sticks. I thought they would be perfect to fit inside this card. And I adhered them with glue dots. Also, you need to stamp something to go in the foreground, and I used the gravestone to go up front. Then the next thing we're going to want to do is the curtains, and I'll show you how to do that. First, you need to use a scallop punch to go across the top. And then to make the curtains, I just took a piece of cardstock and folded it in half like this. You get your scissors, you fold this in half. You can actually just clip that first part off. And then you're going to cut your curtain design. Now, it's going to just go like this and then come straight down. So start all the way from this edge and then just kind of curve it down a little bit. And then you can either go straight down or you can come out a tiny bit, just as long as that first part of the curtain is the tall part. And you can come down further, you can do whatever you want. Then I took a little piece of scratch paper, and I'll just show you. And I just stuck a little piece right here and a little piece right here to look like tiebacks. And then I stamped it in white with some spider webs to make it look Halloween. The next part you're going to need to do is cut out a frame. And what I did is I just measured the tape that's going to go around it, and I did 1/8 of an inch larger. So this is a 1/2 inch plus a 1/16. So how I cut this is I came to the edge and I just came in about 4 3/5 on each side and just cut it down and cut it down. And I had to use, this is what I used, a cutter like this. And I just measured it in 4 3/8, 4 3/8. So this side would be a little bit larger than, and I just did it like that and kept going until it was all cut. So that's how you get this frame. These are the 4 pieces that you're going to adhere to the frame. So I have the curtains, and I have a little hill, and I have this gravestone, and those are all going to go right like this. Oh, and the top part of the curtain. So what I do is I put adhesive right along this, and I just glue it on like that, and I just make sure that this gravestone is in front of the curtain. Okay, then the other little pieces that you're going to need, I did 2 other hills, and these hills are going to be on this back sheet. So this hill's on the front sheet, and this hill's on the back sheet. So when your little guys play, it just gives it some dimension. So I did a big hill with a large flat area so I could stamp my tree and house. And then I just did another hill, and I sponged the edges on these to also give it dimension. Okay, so those are the little piecings that you'll have to do. Then the next thing is going to be brayering this, and you need to get a little moon, and you get the moon by punching out a 1/2 inch circle out of Post-it note. And I had to put a piece of cardstock on the back of the Post-it note. Okay, now we're going to brayer. If you've never used a brayer before, this is a great project to start on because there's just a lot that's going to not show up because of the way the frame goes. So you take your brayer, make sure it's clean, make sure there's nothing on it because the first color you're going to use is the lightest color. And you have to go the same direction, and I do it 25 times. I'm not counting, but when I'm not on video, I do count. And the first layer, you always go off the paper. And that's why there's a dark and then a light, and then it just seems to blend after you do that. Now you just come down a tiny, tiny bit on your paper, and then you go all the way down. Okay, now I'm going to do that exact same thing 3 more times. The first time, I'm going to take it off the paper. The second one, I'm just barely going to go on the paper because a lot of times that one comes out too dark. And then I'm just going to go back and forth all the way down. And you shouldn't get any smudges or any lines if you do it just like this. So one more time. After 25 times, one time on the paper, just the very tip, and then come all the way down. Now you can do this several more times until it's dark enough. I just need this to be yellow enough to get this moon on it. So I'm going to do it one more time and then I'll put the moon on it. I'm done with the yellow. I have a nice gradient that goes all the way down. All right, and because I'm doing 2 other colors, I don't have to worry a lot about this. I just needed to get some dark yellow in here. And now I'm going to use the orange. And because the orange is just a little bit darker color, I'm just going to clean my brayer off by wiping it on my paper. I don't need to run it under water. This is pumpkin pie, and I'm going to go ahead and ink this up. I put a piece of sticky note right in the center. It's a 1/2 inch circle right in the center because that's where the moon is going to look the best in the curtains. So you do this one about 25 times. It's harder to do darker colors. So always start with the lightest first and get a feel for it. Okay, after I've gone about 25 times, I'm going to do my first one off. Then I'm just going to barely come on it with a nice come down and get a little bit of striping, but it starts to go away as I come further down. Right, and I'm probably just going to do this about 4 more times so I get a nice orange across this, and then I'm ready to do the dark purple. Okay, now I'm ready to do my purple. This is going to come out almost a black because it's on top of an orange and a yellow. So it just kind of it's beautiful the way brayering works. Okay, and I'm just going to clean this off on the paper. There's hardly anything on this, and I know if there's a tiny bit of orange, it's not going to ruin this stamp pad. But every time I use this purple, I definitely run it under water till it's completely clean, and then I test it on paper before I would put it back in the yellow, because that is how you ruin your stamp pads. Okay, you go on this about 25 times. Do your first one off. Because this color is so dark, I'm actually going to do my second one off too. And then I'm just going to barely come in. And this one you can really start to see the lines because it is such a dark color. But after you do it about 3 more times, it will blend beautifully. Okay, so you do your first one off, and then just go ahead and come down. Okay, I'm going to do this about 2 more times. You can already see it just has a really nice blend. It's tricky to use these darker colors, so you really do have to go about 2 or 3 times down it to make sure all the colors blend through. Okay, and I'm done. And because I'm going to have a bunch of mountains and hills down here, I didn't really worry to make sure I got the orange all the way down. You just take off your little sticky and you've got a moon. And then I like to put some clouds on there just by sponging a little bit into the cloud. And this is that dark purple, so it's going to show up really dark, so I'm being really careful. Putting some clouds on that side and then on this side. And if you have any distinct lines because you made a mistake, you can always sponge in some clouds, and that does a really good job. All right, now I'm done and I'm ready to put my background in. Okay, first I'm going to ink up the haunted house, and I'm going to put it just a little bit under this moon to the side, and I'm doing this in craft black, so it's really dark. And then I'm going to do the little tree. Right now I got my tree in early espresso, and I got the same brown. And there you go. And then you can decide where your hills are going to go if you want it to be exactly under it. I think I want it like this. So I'm going to adhere that and cut that off. See where that other hill would look good. Yep, perfect. So I'm just going to adhere those on. I just adhered it to the card, and that's what it looks like. So the last thing you need to do is just put the frame on the card like this, and you do that by using the sticky tape, the foam tape, and you do it on 3 corners. And I'm just going to peel that off and put that on, and then I'll be done. And then for the card, I just tied those together with a cute bow, and then you can write inside and say something fun. Yay, 31 days.